Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Simon's Pro Wrestling Show. My name is Simon Miller, and of course, I'm sure you figured out why we're doing this today. And we'll get into it in one just second. Before we do, some housekeeping as always. Thank you to everyone on the Patreon, patreon.com/Simon316 who makes this possible. You can all head over there now, and even you can throw $1 in the mix, it helps. And do please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Simon316, and check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Miller Report Rules, because there you can watch more of my content, such as these podcasts themselves and other wrestling, gaming, vlogs, all kind of nonsense. Today, I am very happy to say, if you don't know, in these episodes, I always try and get a Patreon on to give something back, and I got my man Craig on today. Craig, how you doing? You good?
I'm very good, Simon. Thank you. No, it's a pleasure to be on.
Absolutely, dude. It's a pleasure to have you, dude. You've been very kind to me, as we talked about earlier, but we won't get into that. So, dude, we are going to talk about last night's episode of Raw. Again, we had a brief chat about that, and you'd already said something wonderful. I was like, good, we can talk about this. The man has opinions. But before we do, like I always say to people that come on, it's always good to get a background, get your experience when it comes to pro wrestling, because I think that kind of opens up... Yeah, I think it shows other fans where you fit in the crazy world of wrestling. So just let me know, dude, when did you start watching it? How did you start watching it? Give me your story when it comes to WWE.
So the very first time I can remember watching it would be, I think it was whatever the WrestleMania. I think it's 3, the one with Savage and Steamboat.
Oh wow, so good start.
Yeah, so. I was a little kid, and my neighbor at the time, they had bought the pay-per-view and invited us over. And so I remember going over and watching it and being like, wow, this is quite amazing. And I just, it was something I maybe had seen before, but it definitely grabbed me, and I was like the perfect age for it. And, it's just the spectacle of people in a wrestling match with these bright colors and all this stuff, and you just get sucked in. And I specifically remember the Savage and Steamboat one because I had to go home because it was getting late. And I remember getting up the next morning asking my friend, like, who won? And I was like, wow, it's kind of like what I would do with a local sports team, and it was like, I'm totally into this thing. And, you just kind of, I watched from there whenever I could, whatever they had for WWF or WWE had for their shows, I would watch. And, it was just, it kind of snuck into me, into my life. I'm not a huge, wrestling is big to me. But it was always one of those things that you'd watch on the slide and you were like, do I tell people I watch wrestling? And then, but when you do, you find out there's a lot of wrestling fans.
Oh yeah,
and you do that.
I like the fact. I think we've talked about this before, but I like the fact that you mentioned the bright lights and things like that, because I think people forget how important that is when you're a kid. Mm-hmm. When you're a kid, and it's like for example, it ties right now into Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse.
Right.
The reason they have whacked that contrast right up is because that's what kids shows do. Because kids, when they turn on, the first thing they see, it's all shiny and exciting, and what does this mean? Same with superheroes, right? Superheroes all bright costumes, and I think we forget about that, and this ties into things we're going to talk about later. And as adults, of course, you're going to watch it differently. But every now and then, I think it'd be really cool if we did step back and remind ourselves of the glitz and glamour that we appreciated when we were kids. I'm not saying don't be critical, but I think it's always nice to remember your roots. Just my opinion. I always think that.
Oh, and I totally agree. I mean, the whole Bray Wyatt segment, I was talking to a friend at work, and he asked me what I thought about it. And it's I told him when it first came on for like the first 10 seconds, I kind of cringed. And then I'm like, oh, this is such a great little like take on the whole children's show watching, as a little kid. And then it's, Bray Wyatt does such a great job with his character. I just bought right in right after, I cringed. I was like, oh, this is good. This could be good. This could be really good.
Yeah.
And
we can use it as a transition as well. So I know I've cut you off, but I want to grab you.
No. But I mean, when you're a little kid, whatever you're a big fan of, for me, it kind of just goes on into adulthood, and you're just like, yeah, you remember when that, I used to watch this thing as a little kid, and people, who are younger, like, I have no idea what you're talking about, dude. And you're like, oh, you should totally check it out. The Transformers were great when I was a little kid. And, people, they'll just look at you like, you're crazy. But that stuff sticks with you as a child because it's your childhood, memories.
And that's one of the reasons I think why we do reinvest into wrestling at a certain point is because, again, nostalgia, and that it opens itself up, right? And you're like, oh, wow. It's basically, we love it because we remind ourselves of being a kid, and maybe that's why we get so mad about it as well, because we want it. It's never going to be. I hate to be the guy to spoil this for everyone. It's never going to be as good as when you were a child,
right?
Because you're not a child anymore. Like, as much as you want, wrestling is never as good as that first time when you watch it and you just believe. And we'd love it to be true, but unfortunately, it won't.
I agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. But like, when, I'm watching these, I've gone back and watched a lot of these old WrestleManias and stuff like that. But when you're a little kid and you see like Demolition come out, for me, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Or the Rockers, or, stuff like that. And I wasn't a Hulk Hogan fan, but, the bright reds and yellows, I mean, they're larger than life. And so, yeah, it just sticks with you forever.
It does.
Or at least for me.
Well, you mentioned Bray Wyatt, and you mentioned how he has done something that has stirred something up inside of you where you know that you want to see where it's going to go, right?
Right.
And that ties into Raw. So we're just going to get into it. And obviously, today's theme of the show is, just how bad was last night's episode of Raw. And my biggest issue with it, and I'm going to get into it, I have a lot to say. My biggest issue with it is that the Bray Wyatt thing stands out double for me because we don't have anything else like that. Like, I remember every time when I sit down to Raw, mostly these days, I actually forget what happened last week. That's half me, half WWE. But as soon as I remind myself that Bray Wyatt is like, I wonder what he's going to do. And it doesn't have that feel. And I think that's an issue I think people are actually having without maybe identifying it, is there is no, aside from, I will talk about specifically, no, I have to do this other way around. Right, so if you don't know, on last night's episode of Raw, they introduced a wild card system, which means an undetermined amount of people can now move from Raw to SmackDown on a whim. They said it was going to be 3, but by the end of the show it was 4, so I'm like, well, maybe it's 42,703. I don't know. There is no way of knowing. So there is now some intrigue when it comes to SmackDown, because you want, maybe more from a train wreck point of view, you want
exactly.
Yeah, you want to see who's going to jump across and how this is going to transpire. But if you actually look at Raw for what it was, why would you tune in next week? Why would you? If you're into storylines and you treat wrestling like a soap opera, why would you tune in? I have no answer.
No, and that was the thing. So I watched the first segment, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, and you see it on Vince's face. Like, and I know he's playing a character, but it felt so like, I'm just throwing all this stuff against the wall. You guys aren't going to care next week, and we'll just keep throwing stuff against the wall. And so that's been my problem for a while now with Raw, and not SmackDown as much, but there's no continuity with their storylines. And so every week it seems like they're pressing the reset button. And so as much as I want to keep watching, I'm like, well, what's the point of watching this every week if they're just going to just keep resetting it seems.
Totally. And I've already got flack for this, but I think it's only fair to say I give some credit to WWE for at least acknowledging their awful ratings last week.
Yes.
Because in the past, this is true, they have said stuff like, oh, no, it's not, it's because the weather was bad. Like, they have done stuff, but do you know what I mean? They have, right? They've been like, oh, no, it's because, and you listen to it and you think, well, I don't necessarily believe that, WWE. It sounds like you're saving face, which I get you want to do. You're a business, you've got stockholders. So I do think it's important that WWE said to themselves, we need to do something different. And that's why I want to be lenient on them, because I never want to be the fan that sits here throwing their toys out the pram saying, do something different, and they do, and you go, well, I meant something else. Because then
it wasn't exactly what I wanted you to do. Because
then what are you even doing, man? You're lost. And again, I always like to reaffirm this because I know some people respond badly to that. I'm not saying we can't be critics. I'm not saying that WWE has got this right. They haven't. I don't think what we call it, the wild card. I don't think the wild card is the answer at all. In fact, I think the brand split in general makes no difference to anything, hence the numbers being what they are.
Right.
But I just want to keep it in perspective too, mostly because it is just wrestling, and I love wrestling. It's my biggest passion, but I don't want to get to the point where I'm watching this stuff to get mad. And
that's one of the things that drew me to you is that opinion of it. Like, I understand what professional wrestling is. It you explain it to somebody who's not a wrestling fan, and you get the look on their face, and you're like, yeah, I know it's ridiculous, but I'm entertained by it. So at the end of the day, I don't want to get annoyed by it. And so, yeah, I can be critical of it, and I'll talk to my friends who watch it as well, and we'll be critical. But if I'm going to get angry at it, then I turn it off, or I'm not in a good spot, and then I definitely need to turn it off because that's not good for me personally. But I haven't been that way, so it's just you kind of just roll your eyes and you're like, wow, what are you guys doing? Like you have all this talent. What are you doing? Like,
no, dude. And I agree with that, man. I actually think the way you approach it is really healthy. Like, I really, really do. And I got no problem with people shouting at each other about the product. But when they start shouting at each other, that's the difference. So what I mean by that is if we sit here and go, oh, Raw was crap, yeah, it was. And then I go, oh, but I like this bit. And you go, nah, mate, you're an idiot. Then I'm like, oh, no. That's now we've fallen off where I think we should be. But tell me, man, so you tuned into Raw last night. Where was the tipping point? What was it that you saw where you went, no, I'm not watching this, I'm out?
It really was the big. Well, first, I'm not a Roman Reigns fan, so but I understand them bringing him back, and because he brings in people to watch. So all right, so he came in and I was intrigued with him kind of just speaking the truth, and I was intrigued as to see where it was going to go, and then they bring out Daniel Bryan, which was nice to see, and then they bring out Kofi, which is nice to see, but then I'm like, you're not addressing this issue that Roman brought up. I don't, and then you're just throwing in this wild card thing. So I feel like they're just going, hey, we're gonna acknowledge that our ratings are atrocious, but now we did that real quick. So now here's this wild card thing. So here's our big problem, but here's this shiny new little object over here. We hope you guys don't pay attention to our big problem. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
It's just. And so at that point, I that's when I really rolled my eyes, and I'm like, I'll watch this tomorrow. And it's like I can go do more fun things and more important things for me. And so yeah, and I've gone back and read some some overviews of it. But it was right at the beginning, and and I was thinking you've touched on, what does this wild card mean? How many people are going to show up? It is intriguing as in a train wreck, like you said. So I'll watch and I'll be like, okay, but are they going to stick with it? And is there a storyline, I guess, that's going to come out of this? And I don't think there is. I don't know.
I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly where I wanted to go with it. It's a quick fix, right?
Right.
It's a quick fix that may sound good on paper, I guess, but doesn't at the same time. But the point is, what we actually want is we want long-term storylines. We want things we can buy in emotionally. And my big comparison at the moment, I think I got a What Culture video going up, but where I address this, is everything that happened with CM Punk back in 2011. CM Punk
I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, but CM Punk didn't do anything revolutionary back there. I know that the promo he cut felt revolutionary because WWE didn't usually break the fourth wall like that. But even when you take all those little inconsistencies out of it, the reason people liked it is because, one, I am literally quoting my video now, but one, he said a load of things that fans wanted to hear, and two, because of that, they supported him. That's all it was. It wasn't like it was some special time in 2011 where you could do this, but you can't do it now. Of course you can, but it's all about coming up with the idea to begin with and accepting that it's not going to change overnight. And to me, they believe doing a wild card will make everyone go, "Oh, I'm going to tune in now." But that won't happen because, A, we don't know what the rules are. Like, I really want to know, does that mean, let's say Roman Reigns, is he on Raw for a week, a month, a year? I don't.
Right.
Can he just go back and forth? And again, is it 3 people? Is it 4 people? Are you going to make it 5 if it suits the storyline? What I really would like, and this is, again, something that I really wanted to get across on Ups and Downs, but everyone was too mad because I was giving ups to good promos. But it was...
How dare you?
I know. What I really wanted to see was... in the Roman Reigns-Drew McIntyre match, which I thought was a decent match, you wouldn't have seen that because it was later on in the show. It was nothing revolutionary, but I thought it was better than the WrestleMania encounter. I wanted to see a winner because I thought if I see Roman Reigns or Drew win, I know that we've turned a corner when it comes to WWE because they've obviously come up with something and say, okay, we can do this, we can do that. And instead what happened is Shane McMahon and Elias interfered, which was doubly annoying because it turned out they weren't part of the wild card, so why were they even there? Who opened the door? But
right. No, but that... and And so this 50-50 booking is another problem. Like you said, like just pick a winner. Go pick someone, and that will continue the storyline. I feel like they're afraid to pull the trigger on certain wrestlers, and they feel like it's going to hurt other ones. Whoever, like, if you have Drew beat Roman, are they afraid that that's going to hurt Roman? I don't think it will at all. And then, you can build up McIntyre. But they continually do that. And that's the other thing that pulls me away from it or doesn't get me into it as much. It's like you have one person win one week, you have another person win the next week, or you just have a disqualification, like you just said. And it's like, well, what did I just watch? Like, like, what's the point here? Come on.
No, you're totally right as well. That's the thing. When you're a fan and you're questioning what you're watching, and then you slowly realize the reason you're questioning it is because WWE doesn't know. That's
Right.
That's why it went from 3 to 4. Because clearly, at some point, someone went, "Oh, actually, no, 4's better." Or something like that. Then you can't invest. And also, I've only just seen a superstar shakeup, or whatever they're calling it. So
Right.
I can't get that excited. Oh, wow, what a fundamental change to wrestling. And I just, there's no quick fix. That's my big thing. There is no quick fix. And that's why, like you just said, that even if Roman Reigns was booked to go over Drew, which would have been annoying, because again, I think there's a more interesting story with Roman losing. He comes to Raw and Drew McIntyre, even though it would be him getting his win back from WrestleMania, still, it's a clean pin on Raw. I think as long as you tell that story after the fact, then everything is going to be okay. I mean, I always go back to Steve Austin versus Bret Hart from WrestleMania 13. Steve Austin lost and did it hurt him? No, not at all. Yeah. Because and people nowadays, I love the retroactive, but WWE knew what they were doing then. No, they didn't. That was meant to be Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. And they just threw Steve Austin in a submission match. He found out watching television and he lost his shit because he was like, I don't have any submissions. Why am I being booked in this match? So it goes to show that it's not always, you can book people in situations that on paper you go, but why would they lose? But ultimately be like, because of X, Y, and Z. As long as you've got the X, Y, and Z in place, and this is why I try, and I understand I'm running out of goodwill now, but this is why I try and always give WWE the benefit of the doubt, because if in a year's time we look back and go, wow, the wildcard thing was the best thing ever, then we shouldn't have reacted as we did, although I understand that we do, because it's Boy Who Cried Wolf, and WWE are way past that now.
Right, and I think that's the thing, that they have set it up where we're going to do that as fans. But, okay, that's fine. But yeah, just if you play it out, like you've said, if nothing's going to change overnight, nothing ever does. And so if you just play it out and you show me that you're going to have that thing, that storyline thread through, then I'll give, I'll keep watching. That's all I need. I just need that little thread of the story to keep going. And I'm the type of fan who's going to just keep watching. But if you're not going to do that, then it's going to be hard to do it. To keep watching.
No, I totally agree. You're right. I mean, you are right. I mean, I don't think it was the worst episode of Raw I've ever seen. I just don't.
No, I can't imagine it was. But, I think it's like you said, the Boy Who Cried Wolf. We're just like, okay, here it is again. Like, we're not dummies here. Like, do something. But, I mean, look at the Daniel Bryan storyline. I mean, when it culminates at WrestleMania 30. That took a while to build.
Yeah.
And it was great when it finally finished. I was thinking about going back and watching these old WrestleManias. WrestleMania 4, 5, and 6. You have Savage win the title, and then he loses to Hogan the following year, and then he gets back to with Elizabeth at WrestleMania 6, I think it was, and that's like a 3-year arc of Savage's story, of he gets the title, and then he turns heel. And then he redeems himself at 3 years later or 2 years later. That's a nice long story. Or Ciampa and Gargano. So I'm all in if you're gonna have that long story play out. Just show it to me to make sure you're doing it, and I'll keep watching.
That's it. And Do you know about Sami Zayn being thrown in the bin?
I read that, and I'm like, isn't that? Didn't they do that with Owens last year?
They
like,
did.
It just reeks of that again.
And that's look. I didn't like it at all. I thought I don't ever agree with anyone being thrown in the bin. I think it's a really it's a really bad idea. People would be surprised to hear. And why they decided to do that with Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn, and whether that's a feud or not, I don't know, because we've done the Sami Zayn Braun Strowman feud, and as we remembered, it didn't go overly well for Sami Zayn, as it was never going to do because of how WWE sees their wrestlers. But because a lot of people they seem to be focusing on that a lot, but I think you just hit the nail on the head. I've seen that before, so it's hard for me to get really vitriolic and angry. I didn't like it, like I say, but when we're talking about worst episodes of Raw, I'm like, this is the kind of stuff I expect from WWE.
Exactly.
Yeah, what I thought was genuinely awful, and that we should shine a bigger spotlight on, is everything they did with the Revival.
Oh God. Oh, I read that and I cringed. I was like, I don't know if I could go watch that.
Oh, dude,
that just reeks of they are clearly leaving when their contracts are up, and WWE is just punishing them constantly until their contracts are over. I mean, they are one of the best tag teams I have ever seen, and they're treating them like that. And then you have the Usos, who are one of the best tag teams I've ever seen, and you're putting them in a segment like that. It's just, why don't you just put them in a wrestling match so we can watch them wrestle? I don't know. That's a novel idea.
But and it filters down as well, because it makes the Revival look bad, but not in the way that the fans hate the Revival, because everyone knows what's going on, because the fourth wall broke a very long time ago.
Right.
It then drags the Usos into it, and the Usos are one of the best tag teams ever. So you're like, okay, why are they getting this bad treatment?
Right.
And then the third thing is, none of the fans want to see it because it's crap. So you're like, why did we do this? And why is it so bad that the Revival want to leave? Like, I understand you can be upset that they want to go, but it is just a job at the end of the day. That happens. And if they don't feel like they're being treated creatively, I'd much rather they just shelved them for 6 months than actually put on actively bad television. So that, to me, is the worst thing about the show, even more than the wild card, because it affected everybody in the show. And also,
you're punishing everybody. The only one who doesn't get punished in that is Vince, and whoever decides to come up with that idea. In my opinion, I was reading that segment, and all I could picture was Vince wherever he sits, just laughing, going, "This is brilliant on my part. I love this." And he's like, and I'm like, he'd probably be the only one going, "Yeah, that's great." And everybody else is like, everybody loses in that, in doing that to the Revival. I don't know. That's just, but that's what they do. I don't know. It seems like that's what they do.
I think that's the problem, right? That's what they do. And this kind of actions has now come back to bite them in the ass, as it was always going to, because, it has. The chickens always come home to roost. Having a team that, I don't necessarily everybody likes the Revival, but I think they're respected. But it's that, like I say, it's that the irony, the crap rolling downhill that's really affected them, because nobody in that segment, including us watching it, comes out good the other side. The only people that come out worse are WWE. And that's why, and I can't see why, like right now, especially when your ratings are bad, unless we're all completely wrong, and maybe Vince McMahon thinks this is hilarious. I mean, it's not too different from when Christian and Chris Jericho had ass cream, right? So, I guess, and there may be some hypocritical stuff there. Maybe some people who are saying they hated this loved it when Christian and Chris Jericho had ass cream. So it all depends on what the intent is. But if it is simply because they don't like the Revival trying to go and they're willing to tank an entire part of their show, then that's the kind of stuff that has to stop now, because as we have statistics to back it up that it's not going to work.
Yeah, but they're getting all this. WWE is getting all this money. This is my perception of it, and then the way they work. They're getting all this money from Fox and the Saudi deals, and so they're looking at the bottom line right now. And they're like, "Hey, we're making money," but like you said, chickens come home to roost, or the rooster comes home to roost. And eventually there's not going to be people watching. And so when those contracts and those deals end up, however many years from now, they're going to be in trouble. And maybe they're hoping something else is going to come along. Maybe Roman Reigns is finally going to stick and everybody's going to really love him. But I don't know, man. It's just, I think they're looking at, the money they take in now, which is a lot of money. And they feel like whatever they do is fine. That's the way it plays out to me. Because so many of their segments make no sense to me. You have all this talent on your roster, and you're doing stuff like that to the Revival and the Usos, or you're not even using wrestlers. I mean, you have AJ Styles and Gallows and Anderson, and you barely ever have them together. Or you have Finn Balor. Like, why wouldn't you put all four of them together? I mean, that's just my opinion. It's something I'd like to see, but I mean, you just don't use the talent in a way that would seem beneficial or maximize your talent, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's it. That's right. Maximize your talent. Like,
Yeah.
if you really truly believe that the Revival are of no use to you because they want to leave, then just don't put them on the show. Focus on the people that are going to be in your company. As far as we know, the Usos just signed brand new deals, so focus on them. Make sure that they come out the other side smelling of roses and not of of what was it, Uso hot, or whatever the hell. Ice cream, yeah, literally, and not ice cream because. And I really do think that's where a lot of the hate and a lot of backlash has come from. Like, I'll be honest with you now, I always have the Twitter open when I do these podcasts in case anything breaks. I'm just being pelted by people who can't stand the fact that, because I didn't like that, but I happen to think that, like I say, there is good parts of Raw. The Kofi Kingston, Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan promos where they're allowed to just look down the lens of a camera in the backstage area and just talk like real people is something that we as wrestling fans have been asking for a while. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we should crap all over those two just because we hated other things on the show. I'm not saying it's a good episode of Raw. I'm really, really not. But within the badness, there's always stuff that you should be able to pick out and sort of highlight.
Yeah. No, and I know Kofi and Daniel Bryan, they wrestle at the end there, and I'm looking forward to go watching that because I know they can put on a good match. But I guess we're kind of focusing on the negative too much. But it's just it's for me. I'm a WWE guy. I know I read about the other promotions and stuff like that. Sorry, I got a fire truck.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
But so if they're kind of just shooting themselves in the foot over and over again, it's hard to watch. It's sad to watch, I guess I should say.
It's
yeah. I don't know.
It goes back to Paul Heyman logic. Book the strengths and stay away from the weaknesses. And WWE has now got. WWE just needs to stop being so. What's the? I can't. Vitriolic's the wrong word. They just need to stop shooting themselves in the foot. They really, really do. They need to. I think when your ratings are down, and when you've got other companies like AEW who are potentially on the rise and certainly do have a lot of fan support, you don't want to be doing anything that can be looked badly from a PR point of view. And I understand not many fans think about PR, but it's happening all the time. Like, one of the reasons fans are reacted so badly to this is because they're down on the product, and therefore they're down on WWE, and that all rolls into one. To the point, no one's talking about how good NXT is right now because they don't care, because they're too annoyed about everything that's happening on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, I guess that's everybody has their own opinions, but it's been draining and tough as a fan to just see this. It really has. And I wonder too, like, if the Revival I guess what I'm going to try to say is, if the Revival's going to go through all this and then they leave and they keep saying AEW, wherever they go, as for me, I'm going to want to go see what they do next, wherever they go next, and see if they talk about how badly they were treated. And so that hurts WWE so much, because if I'm thinking that, I would imagine there's quite a few fans who are thinking that. all these wrestlers who are leaving or who want to leave, I'm rooting for them to leave because they're not being used properly in my opinion. So, I'll keep watching WWE, I'm sure, but it's gonna start bringing my attention to wherever these other wrestlers go.
And
if that makes sense.
No, it does. Of course it does, because if we didn't, I understand that we're in the minority, and I'm sure a lot of people don't even know that the Revival want to leave. That's just because we're, hardcore fans or whatever, and we like to know. But it will create interest. I can't believe many people watched that segment and didn't think that something was a bit awry. And, if that then translates to them going to AEW and people hear about the Revival, they're like, oh, right, that makes sense. Again, all of a sudden you're going to sow them on WWE too. Always play, again, the irony, be positive. Right. Play to your strengths. You do have a great roster. Like you said, not everybody likes Roman Reigns, but if you think there's something there and, sure, you can manipulate that to where it works, you do that. Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, they're great. Again, not very... Not their highlight this week by any stretch of the imagination, but we all know what's in their locker. And, and there's guys lower in the card. Like, if we could have taken the Revival segment out and put something in with Mojo Rawley, or, I'm sure there's other guys I'm not even thinking about. But we didn't do that. And instead, we've got I really do think it's that segment which has, kind of stabbed this episode of Raw right in the face. I think people would have been far more not accommodate. I think it would have been bad regardless, especially the wild card thing. But that to me was the real kicker.
The one that got you. And like I said, when I read it, that was and I was, thinking about going when I'm going to go back and watch it. That's the one that there are two things. It's that and the wild card, and again the wild card. All right, let's see what they do. But the Revival, it's just like, what's the point? I mean, God, if you're going to make it a storyline, all right, I've been saying this whole time, I want a storyline. It's not the way what I would want, but make something of it, I guess. I don't know how you would, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like I said at the beginning. I just feel like they're throwing everything against the wall, and I don't think anything's sticking, honestly.
No, but it's not. And I don't think the rating's going to be any better this week. What would you like to see them do? I know we've touched upon them, but I genuinely... So when you sit down to Raw in, say, 6 months' time, what can they do to make sure that you don't turn off your television, which, like you just admitted, you did last night?
God, well, you have so many injuries. I mean, I would love to see... I've talking to friends, and I would love to see Kofi still be champion. And I feel like he's going to just be a transitional champion. And I hope he's, not. I would love to see him still be champion, and then, something with the New Day happen, or because that would, to me, when like the Shield broke up, I was never fully invested in the Shield. I had just started coming back into wrestling at that point, but I understood, why people were so like, oh my God, why did Seth do this? If there was a betrayal, and I know it's a storyline that's played over and over again, but if you give it time, and if somebody betrayed Kofi, that would be something I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I've followed the New Day for a while now. It would shock me, and I could see that would be a great story. I would like to see them keep the championships on the guys and the girls that they have right now for a little bit. Let them have some nice long reigns. It just stick with the people you want to stick with. Pick a story. I guess you got to start with pick a story and then go with it. I would love to see AJ and Gallows and Anderson get back together, but I don't think they're ever going to do that. I would love to see them, do something with the tag team division. I think just pare it down to one championship would be great. I just don't understand the SmackDown division, tag team division at this point. It just seems very weak. And then I was reading that they have a bunch of tag teams that aren't tag teams coming on tonight, and I don't know if they're even just picking a tag team champion tonight, or they're going to have some sort of a match or something like that. So I feel like they should pare down the tag team to just one division and just have them on both. If you're going to have this wild card, have them on both shows. it's I honestly haven't even thought about it because it's just I feel like they're not going to do anything, and it's going to be a week to week, reset like we talked at the beginning. It's just so I don't have faith in them right now, but I guess that's what I would want. I just start building some stories and go with it, even if I don't agree with it. And, I don't think of every solution or to whatever they're coming up with, but surprise me, give me something that I wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah, I think something that we're forgetting about as well is I think there's probably, I would say pressure. Well, I think there probably is pressure from the likes of the USA Network and
There's
Fox, because
Yeah.
the USA Network's tank, and whoever's in charge, the executives look at, they look at the fact that Roman Reigns, someone that has been, pimped as one of their big guys, all of a sudden gets moved to SmackDown and show they're losing in 4 or 5 months' time or whatever it is. And that causes great issues, right? That they're like,
Right.
why have you done that? So that's why, this is another reason for that. When you get two companies that want to pay you $1 billion for your product, it's difficult to then go back and say, no, they want to have the stars on their show to ensure they haven't wasted their investment. And that's something that is now going to come into play as well. And I don't know how that affects things. I can't remember the last time we had Raw and SmackDown on different networks. In fact, I don't think we've ever had it in the same way that it is now, where SmackDown needs to be pitched as a bigger show as Raw. Because, 9 times out of 10, Raw has always been the A show. But that is the other reason that this has happened. Like, everybody wants, the top guys.
Well, now that you say that, I wonder if that's the reason why they have this wild card thing. Because maybe they are getting pressure from USA going, why did you move, we understand why you're moving Roman to SmackDown, but no, we want him over here. And that I would think that USA and Fox are like, these are the guys and girls we want. And so you just got to get rid of the brand split, I guess, at this point. I mean, I would imagine they're getting a ton of pressure from both networks.
And the
I
fans.
would have to think. Yeah, well, definitely the fans. But do you think Vince cares? I wonder if Vince cares what the fans really think. I really do.
Well, talk to me about that. What did you think of Vince McMahon's performance on Raw last night? Because as I've now found out over the last hour or so, people are now, laying into Vince McMahon as well. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just...
No, you know what? What Kofi said, I'm not going to be able to repeat it verbatim, but the way when Kofi said that, oh, this is what you came up with, this is what you thought when you came out here, that was my opinion of Vince's performance. It's like, this is Kofi's reaction is what I feel Vince is doing in the background. It's just like, you have no idea what you're doing. You come out here in a storyline as, in your character going, this is going to be one of the biggest Raws ever. And then you go, oh, you know what? The wild card. I'm so glad I just came up with this. And it's like, yeah, that's great. Maybe you should probably plan these things ahead of time, like way ahead of time. I don't know.
Let's not forget either is that we haven't. We apart from that women's money in the women's skit and the Ricochet Rude match, there was not one mention of Money in the Bank, a pay-per-view they're meant to be promoting in 2 weeks' time.
In 2 weeks' time,
I know that completely fell by the wayside, and I think that's the other issue too, is that again everything just feels so slapdash at the moment. There is no planning, and that's because they are, as we've already said, they're just changing things constantly because they don't know what to do, and I think that's scary in many ways. Well, I don't think we've ever seen WWE in this kind of situation where they're kind of backs into the corner, they're throwing as many fists as they can, but like we said, nothing lands, everything misses, and that's why, again, they need to just calm down. Everyone just needs to calm down, and let's come up with a plan, and let's stick to the plan, because it's going to take a few months regardless. There's no way you can just bounce back from this.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that. I work in a kitchen, and so if I get worked up, that's when things go wrong. And I had the other day I had to go into work, and I had to not run the kitchen, but run the broiler by myself for the first time. And one of my bosses on a box had wrote to me, "Craig, don't panic." And I didn't, and everything went well. And like you said, Yeah, WWE is panicking and nothing is going well at all. That's what it seems.
It's going to be interesting,
Yes.
and in a month's time, we've got a Saudi Arabia show as well, which
Oh, good.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
But nobody wants that, right? I mean, it's literally the last thing anybody wants because they're difficult shows to watch anyway, and obviously some people won't watch them at all because they do push your moral button. And as we've said again on this show before, when you're watching entertainment, you don't want your politics and morality to come into question.
No, and I never want to talk politics. The only people I ever want to talk politics are with certain family members. I don't want to be thinking about political or like you said, moral stuff when I'm being entertained, whether it's wrestling or football or baseball or whatever, or movies. So yeah, I don't even watch those, and that's just for me. So I pretend they don't even happen because WWE they don't seem to care, other than the Shane McMahon being the best in the world. Nothing ever seems to come out of it. But hey, look at McMahon got something out of that story, one of those shows. But it's just, yeah, how do you not promote Money in the Bank? How do you not, I don't know, man. It's
well,
go ahead.
Interestingly, apparently Money in the Bank ticket-wise is sold very well. So I don't know whether they think, okay, well, we've done that now, so we can just, move it to one side, which is probably true. Because,
but wouldn't you want to okay? So if it's sold out, that's great, but keep the intrigue going, because now I'm gonna watch it, and then you keep creating these storylines, you keep creating this intrigue, you promote it, you get me excited. It's gonna give me some positive energy for it that I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna be really looking forward to what happens next after that. And when you don't promote your shows, or you barely, do anything to storyline to get into the pay-per-view, I lose energy. I don't lose interest because I'm going to watch, but I lose excitement. I lose it. Yeah, I know. Right. I'm going to do it anyways, but, I lose excitement for it. And then if, I'm not as excited for the next night on Raw, the next SmackDown. It's just, so keep it going. If it's sold out, and which I'm sure it has, I'm sure they usually do. But again, it seems to be that's their model of business. So it's not my business, it's Vince's, and he clearly has been successful. So, and he can do with it as he will. But as a fan, I can do what I will.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Exactly.
And I can turn it off like I did last night, or, if something else comes along, I'll watch it. So
I think that you've hit the nail on the head there. For me, anyway, is that it's a two-way street, which is why I'm a bit flabbergasted today, because I can't believe how mad people are about it. It's kind of taken me by surprise. And also, I think that kind of sums it up from a fan's point of view as well. This is me playing devil's advocate a little bit. But everybody was so astounded by how crap it was last week, and yet they're still surprised it happened again. What did you think? What did you think had changed in 7 days? So look, don't get me wrong, it's 98.8% on WWE. But at some point, as a fan, you have to accept that the product is bad. Do you know what I mean? I know that sounds weird, because I always try and spin things in a positive way. I guess my point is, I'm crapping on a specific type of fan. I'm not crapping on any fan, but I'm referencing a certain type of fan. It just baffles me when somebody who said last week, I can't believe how bad the show was, we get to next week, I can't believe how bad the show was. It's a bad show. That's it. It's a bad show. So
yeah, and I mean, maybe that type of fan is they're hoping and praying that, hey, maybe next week it's going to be it. But you can only bang your head in the wall so many times, and at some point, for me, I've banged my head into that wall so many times. So all I can do is, I can get frustrated a little, and then just go, you know what? They have a track record of this. This is what they do. I'm going to go do something else. I have loads of other things I can do. and if I know that a Raw SmackDown is really atrocious, I'll just read about it. I'll watch your ups and downs. I'll watch, I'll talk to friends about it, and I don't have to watch it.
No, you don't.
But that's just for me. That's just for me.
No, the thing, I can, I get that because I'm the same. And I guess that's why I'm just having one of those days where I'm like, I don't understand what's happened to the world because, I always watch wrestling and go, yeah, it's just wrestling. That's okay. Right. But then now, because my opinion hasn't, marred up with other people and people are getting really annoyed, like really, really annoyed. I think I'm still surprised by it. It's like, dude, you can still hate the show, man. Like, you can still hate the show. It's cool. I didn't like the show very much. But, when I went through my segment, I was like, well, I'm not going to rag on that because it was okay. But overall, badge. Anyway, we're going off piece. And the other thing I did want to bring up, because I think this ties into the AEW situation, which I always like to talk to people about, is there's a rumor going around at the moment that apparently WWE offered to double Rhino's salary, but his whole thing would be he would just be sitting at home. And I find that amazing.
So I read that last week, but they didn't say who it was. And I was talking to a friend at work about it, and we were trying to figure out which wrestler it was. And we were both just like, wow, like that is insane that they would do something like that. To me, that's just insane. Again, it reeks of desperation of what are you doing? Like, just let the guy go. You can't hold all your toys. At some point, you got to let them go.
Especially because, again, you're focusing all your energy on the wrong place. You could take that money and maybe, buy is the wrong word, hire a young up-and-coming, guy or girl, or I don't know, or spend it on money for pyrotechnics. I don't know, like something that would make the show more entertaining other than we don't. Also, I love Rhino. I really do. I've been a fan of his since ECW. But in this day and age, Rhino isn't going to go anywhere and make a huge splash because nobody in his position would. That's just the nature of any industry. You go up and then hilariously you come down, right? That's what happens. And Rhino is coming to the twilight of his career, much like Goldust was. And again, we were told that Vince McMahon wasn't going to release him. Goldust, of course, will make an impact in AEW, but after a while, he'll just be a good legend they've got around. And that's not a knock on him. That's because the world moves on. And unfortunately, it happens to us all. So trying to, hold Rhino down. Again, it goes back to what we were saying. It focuses on the wrong areas. It focuses on the bits that there's other more important pressing tasks that are being ignored because they're worried about stuff like that.
Right. And so, like you said, take that money, put it into Pyro. That'd be great. It'd be fun. Or take it and hire some writers or somebody who can watch over the writers and go, no, all right, we did this storyline last week. We need to continue it. Like, somebody who can reread, which supposedly Vince has final say in everything. So I guess you couldn't hire anybody to do that. But just put that money somewhere else. Well, it just seems like it seems like that reeks of we have way too much money, disposable money. And we're just going to throw it at something that is really not going to affect us in any way if we let this guy walk.
Yeah,
or if you let him stay. I mean, it's just a waste of money.
But it is. I don't understand what they're worried about there. Like, I really don't. That is the one thing where those kind of decisions, more to me, make me more worried as a fan than what they're doing on TV.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because I'm like, you're not. Look, what are you doing? Like, same with the Revival, right? Those, I know that happened on TV, but it's more of a way they're treating their talent. It's like, take whatever time and resources you're spending on that and shift it across to anything else that you think may make it. It should be simple. You should have a book, and at the top of the book, it should say, what will make Raw better? Write a bunch of lists, long-term storytelling, pushing stars over the brand, and understanding WWE is not the name, and you need people that kind of, sit above like The Rock and Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan and John Cena. And get rid of 50-50 booking and promos that aren't scripted and start investing in that as opposed to we can't let anybody leave because if they turn up in AEW, it may look bad on us. Who cares? You're WWE. You've already won. You've won. Right. You're a $1 billion company, right? Right.
But if you keep doing this, your empire is going to crumble at some point. Empires do. And it's just, Simon, my reaction more than being like excited with WWE is like, wow, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And that should not be my reaction to them.
No,
it shouldn't be.
I think it shouldn't. As a fan, you should even be you shouldn't even be that far invested. I know that's the wrong word. You shouldn't know as much as you do, but that's why wrestling is crazy. That's why wrestling is completely different to any other kind of sport or soap opera or whatever. We know too much. Like we just do.
Well, I mean, for me, because I don't watch much TV, so sitting down investing 5 hours in TV is something I'm never going to do. So a lot of my entertainment does come into reading the dirt sheets or the news and all that stuff.
Dude, me too, man. I mean, I built my whole career around it.
Yeah, I do find the inner goings on very entertaining. I've been that way with a lot of things. But so I mean, so yeah, I guess that's why I know these things. I mean, they're out there anyways. Anybody can find them. But I shouldn't be more entertained as to the inner workings. That should not be entertaining me more than the product on TV. The bottom line, right? I mean, I should be more entertained as to what's going on their shows, not what's going, rumors and stuff like that. But that's not the case right now for me.
No, it's not. The more interesting thing is who's going where, what's AEW going to do, who wants to leave WWE this week. It's a fascinating. It really is. WWE in 2019 or May 2019. Let's call it a rubber stamp. It is crazy. It's genuinely crazy. I don't even know what we're fans of anymore. Like, it's bizarre. And I think I meant to say this earlier and I forgot. I really think maybe, getting 2 $1 billion contracts were not beneficial because it gave them too much leeway. It gave them too big of a net to fall into. And now I think we are struggling to get the fear factor back. And I think, when, WWE last time when they smashed it out of the park was when WCW was breathing down their necks. Whereas now they no matter what, they could do, a rating of 10 until 2024 and legally they're going to get that money. Unless somebody wants to really fight them on a court case, they'd probably lose. And that it's like, when you always hear about rappers where they say, oh, so-and-so has fallen off because they've lost that hunger. And maybe WWE's lost the hunger at the moment. And maybe they need something to scare them back into it.
That's what it looks like to me. But they're not going to change until there's some competition. And, even if AEW hits it out of the park, like you said, I mean, WWE has nothing to worry about for a while. The only thing I could think that would scare them is if Fox decide whatever channel that SmackDown's going to be on the Fox network. For my understanding, if Fox goes, we're going to put you on FS1 because these ratings are horrible, which I'm pretty sure they could if they wanted to. I mean, I'm sure there would be some yelling back and forth. But if Fox does that, that would be devastating.
Oh, we talked about the PR perception, right? And that's what WWE, if WWE don't have to be worried about cash, absolutely be worried about being knocked to FS1 because from a perception point of view, that looks terrible.
Oh, it's horrible.
And you'll know better than I. I mean, I only know about FS1. I knew what FS1 was from the UFC stuff, but I know about it more now that, I listen to Observer and all those things and I learn about the channels. But I'm sure as a guy that lives in America, that Fox is brilliant, but FS1's like, oh man, what do we do to, perk FS1 up, right? Well, yeah, I mean, all it is it's their sports network. So, I mean, and it's I don't know what the ratings are, but I mean, it's just their sports network, but they also have an FS2. So, right. Well, what's on that? It's sports as well. So, but that's like their lower tier, and not every house, not every cable system has it, or not every household can get it. So, over here, a lot of, everybody has Fox, and then not, a smaller percentage has FS1, and then a really smaller percentage has FS2. So, I guess the best way to describe it for English Premier League is they're the lower tier. If Fox is the Premier League, then FS1 is the Champions League or Champion? Yeah, totally. Yeah, and then FS2 is the tier below that. And you're not even if you're hitting it out of the park, you're not going to get that many viewers because there's not that many people that have that channel. And so Fox, I would think that they would shift SmackDown wherever
if they're only going to get a 2 rating, I can't imagine they're going to want that on Fox, on their major network, on a Friday night.
It's going to be so interesting, man, isn't it?
It's going to be very interesting.
And I think that, the way that you delivered that as well goes to show why all this is happening. If you're saying that as a fan, who doesn't? You don't have to care about the ratings, man. Who cares?
Right.
Like, who cares about the ratings? But if you're thinking, man, they do not want that to happen. Imagine what WWE's going through right now.
I would hope so.
Which is why we're getting panic booking, though. The last night's show, 100%, was a big panic. Oh my days, what are we going to do? There's no two ways about it. It was.
Yeah.
And I look for the best in things. I tried to be positive. I now realize maybe that wasn't the best thing in the world. But actually, no, you know what? Now I've thought about it, I stand by it. I stand by it. Like, there were certain things that it wasn't terrible. I mean, the show was overall bad, but there were, again, down the lens promos, a couple of matches that were fine. I also, let's be honest, I don't like shitting on things just for the sake of shitting on it. Like, I could have said, the Robert Roode versus Ricochet match was bad, but it was fine. They're human beings, and I get people don't really like that they want, but there's enough negative on the internet as it is. I don't want to.
There's enough negativity in the world, and I always say to friends of mine, it's harder to be positive. It's easier to be negative.
Exactly.
And I'd rather be positive, even if something's bad. I'm going to try to spin it in a way that, hey, well, at least it's not this, and like we've said, at the end of the day, it's just a form of entertainment for me. I'm not going to get super negative. I'll get critical, sure, but I'll do that with my friends, and that's just some fun talk, but I'm not going to let it consume me. It's that's definitely not worth it.
Exactly, man. Well, dude, you were the right person I needed to chat to today. Because, the internet is not pleased with me. Although, hilariously, I got a tweet all of 12 seconds ago that's now having a go at me for giving it too many downs. You cannot win, Craig. You can't win.
You can't control people, places, and things, and you definitely can't control what people are going to think. So,
hilarious.
Like I said, it's the reason why I got into you, and you've been a huge positive effect on my life. So whatever keeps you going, man, just keep doing it.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Let's end on a high. High. Let's go with the most generic question ever, because it's always fun. Who's your favorite wrestler ever, man? Who's the person you look back on, puts a smile on your face?
Oh, Bret Hart.
Yes, dude. That's what I knew you were going to say. I had a feeling. Damn right. Tell me why, even though I know.
I love the Hart Foundation. They were at WrestleMania 3. They got me. And then Bret's just such a great wrestler.
Yep.
He just was such a great wrestler. You could just see it. And I don't know much about wrestling other than what I watch. And I could just tell, this guy is great. And then, he could make anybody look great, and even great guys look, even better. His rivalry with Michaels, I hated Michaels, but that was the great thing about it. It reminds me of a great sporting rivalry. I should hate the guy that I don't want to win, and I should love my team, my wrestler, and he could just bring out the characters, his character out there. I don't know, his technical prowess, and he was just awesome. He was just yeah.
And the one thing I've kind of noticed now going back, that you get different appreciation as you grow up. I honestly think this too. Out of everybody I ever saw wrestle, and I am biased because he was my favorite, but out of everybody I ever saw wrestle, no one made me believe in what they were doing more. Not necessarily, I believed every little thing that he did.
Yeah. Yeah, it was and all these wrestlers, it's their livelihood. Yeah, you know it. You do it. But like it just it just oozed out of him. It's just like this guy he's doing his job, and boy does he do it really well.
Yeah,
it just shows.
It does.
It just shows.
It really, really does. And he felt unique to me now. He felt unique at the time, but now someone says compare someone to Bret Hart. There are people like Ric Flair, incomparable. Bret Hart, incomparable. The Undertaker, incomparable. And
you can't. I mean, for me, I can't. I mean, all the wrestlers in the past, I love them in the past, and even the wrestlers when I wasn't watching for a period there, I've gone back and watched them. I just don't like to compare because what's the point? Everybody to me is unique. I have my wrestlers now, and I have the wrestlers in the past, and And if I'm going to list them, I'll just list them on a piece of paper, and I can look back at fond memories with them and be excited for the ones that are going now.
Hell yeah, dude. And that is, we hit the hour mark just as you said that. I like it.
Oh, perfect.
That puts a smile on my face. Well, look, Craig, thank you so much. That was an awesome chat for one. And two, without getting into the nitty gritty, thank you so much for all your kind words that you've said to me as we were arranging this. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, man. And like I said, you've helped a lot. And this has been an honor and a pleasure. You put a big smile on my face talking to you. This has been awesome.
It did. Oh, man. Is there anything else you want to throw out there? You don't have to, but I always like to give people a chance at the end to promote or say something should they so wish.
No, I'm not a self-promoter or anything. It's going to be a good day, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Love it, dude.
That's all.
Love it, man. I love this. Oh, dude, we needed this chat today. You've helped me just as much as I may have helped you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's great.
Right. If you haven't ever listened to the podcast before, please do subscribe and do all of that. Also on YouTube at youtube.com/The Miller Report Rules. I should have mentioned this earlier. I didn't, but we'll have another one before. I have a brand new podcast as well called Why with Simon Miller. It goes live every Thursday. At the moment, you can get it on everything, including Spotify, other than Google Podcasts. But I'm trying to sort that. I will, and I'll let you know when it's done. And that's about it. Craig, thank you again so much for your time.
Thanks a lot, Simon. I appreciate it.
No worries. Anyone still getting mad at Raw? It's just Raw. You'll be over it tomorrow because you'll be mad at SmackDown instead. But,
Exactly. Great point.
We will be back on Wednesday at 2 p.m. 1 p.m. BST, where we do the live show on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. The Miller Report Rules. Just say, Simon Miller. Either you can search for that on YouTube, and I'll talk to you all again very soon.